my friends, and welcome back. My name is Hannah, and today I want to do a first impressions unboxing. Get ready with me, sort of, asterisk, with the new Pat McGrath and Bridgerton collab. I'm only using the eyeshadow palette in this video, so if you're curious about the entire collection, this probably won't be the video for you. But if you're curious about what this eyeshadow palette looks like, please continue watching. I will have everything that I'm wearing on my face and the product that I'm talking about linked down below. I don't know if Pat McGrath is going to be restocking this. I know it's still listed on the website, but I don't know if they do plan to restock. I think it would be pretty bummy if they didn't, but I don't know. I'm just thinking back about like the Star Wars collection, and I think there was only one run of that. But if you were also curious of my social medias, I also have that link down below. I use Streamer links, so you can find all of my official accounts linked there. I didn't know, I don't know exactly what kind of eye look I'm gonna do today. I just know what that color story looks like, and so I just pulled some shades from my own because I didn't want this video to be too long. And I mean, I am getting this package fairly late, so I just kind of want to film and get this video up. So that being said, if you're curious about anything that I'm wearing, I have links down below. So let's talk about this palette. Let's talk about some things. So let's start off. I just want to disclose, I've never watched Bridgerton ever. I don't think I'm very interested in watching Bridgerton. There's something about classism that really rubs me the wrong way. It really triggers me. I can read something like Pride and Prejudice and The Awakening, but even then, the female leads in those stories are like, classism sucks and this is dumb, and like, why are women being treated this way? And like, I don't want to play these little social games. And I don't know, Bridgerton just kind of gives me like the version of that, but in a or I don't know, like a Game of Thrones version, you know, like just a reskinned Game of Thrones. And you know what? I would rather just watch Game of Thrones or read Game of Thrones, or really just play The Witcher, if I'm being honest. If I wanted to get deep into some made-believe government system. Okay, so to get that off my chest feels really good. But I was very interested in the color story of this palette, and I think it looks really pretty. And I mean, I'm a sucker for anything that's kind of cyberpunk-esque, or something that you could pull to lean more cyberpunk. And I don't know, that would be cool to have like a cyberpunk version of Pride and Prejudice. I'm assuming that's what Bridgerton is. I'm going off of like what I see as far as costuming and stills and like settings and things like that. But I will insert a picture here of the entire collection, because I think there was a few other things. There was 2 highlighters. There was a cheek trio. I didn't need the whole collection, especially as someone who has never watched Bridgerton, has no interest in Bridgerton. I didn't need the whole collection. I don't know. I guess because I'm a huge fan of a lot of things, and if Pat McGrath came out with a Hunter x Hunter collection and I couldn't get my hands on it because people were just buying it because it was Pat McGrath, I think I would be a little bit bummed, I think. But then, you know, what are the chances of that happening? But then what were the chances of Pat McGrath and Bridgerton doing something? I think that's the conflicting part for me, I think, because I don't ever like to buy something just because it is something. Like the Lizzie McGuire palette and the Sailor Moon palette called to me because I love those series, but I love the color story that it was giving me. And this one is more just so I love the color story. Point blank, period. But the highlighters, there was a gold one and a silver one, and if I'm being honest, I don't really need those kind of shades in my collection. Those aren't something that I would use. And the cheek trio I found interesting because they were very bright pinks, and the only reason I didn't pick that one up as well is because I don't really reach for pinks like that. But then I recently found out that the shades in those trios, all 3 of them, there's like 2 blushes and a highlight, those are all a part of the permanent collection. Now, you can take this as 2 ways, right? Because like if you miss out on the trio, but you love those shades, you can still get your hands on those shades. It's just not going to come in the Bridgerton packaging, which, you know, makeup, you shouldn't be buying makeup for packaging anyway. So that's really nice. But then it's also kind of like because you are doing this very special collaboration, and I think it's very rare for Pat McGrath to do like the last collaboration I remember them doing was the Star Wars one, and I think that came out like a few years ago. And I don't know, you would just think Pat McGrath would like maybe have some special kind of shades in there. I don't know, but take it how you will. I think it's great because if you were really interested in those shades, you can still get your hands on them. Like this particular, I don't know if Pat McGrath sells singles. I don't think she does. I think she always just sells like the mothership palettes or like the smaller ones. I think, or unless the smaller ones are also called motherships. I'm not too familiar, but I don't think she sells singles. But I mean, if you were able to build this palette in your own way, or if they're magnetic in any way and you had these shades in other palettes and you can pull them all together, I think that would be great. I think that would be an awesome kind of collab, you know? So then people don't really have like FOMO or feel bad. I do just want to say that purchasing this item was kind of like it was a little bit chaotic. So I was there the minute it dropped. I purchased my item. I was only purchasing the eyeshadow palette, and I mean there's like a whole collection. You could have bought the whole bundle, that kind of thing, and I didn't. And I'm seeing people who bought the whole bundle get it before me. People who live in other states. My package was shipped from California to California, and it still took me longer than someone who lives in Texas to get their hands on it, and it's California to Texas. So it doesn't make sense to me, especially because I'm like an hour away from Los Angeles. My orders get to me fairly quickly. Even if I don't do expedient shipping or 2-day, like whatever, it usually gets to me fairly quickly living in Southern California. And it took about 9 days for me to even get a shipping confirmation email. I filmed all of last week doing Indie Week, and I wanted to include this as well because Pat McGrath is an indie brand. But you know, maybe it was best that it didn't make it to that week. I don't know, because then I have content this week. But it was just like it made me nervous because this wasn't a cheap palette. This was like $60. And sure, I got like a 10% off code, so then like I only paid exactly what the palette was listed for. But I mean, it was still fairly expensive, and to kind of be in that kind of limbo and to hear some of the things I've heard about Pat McGrath's like guest service and their shipping and things like that, you would think for a higher end indie brand, they wouldn't have these issues. Now, I didn't try to reach out to customer service because I figured, you know, something was happening, because I would watch other videos, and even Samantha March was like, well, I didn't get my update, and she's only a state over from me currently. And I think we ended up getting our stuff on the same day, I think. Depending on if I know exactly how she films her videos. That sounds stalkerish, but anyway, I don't know. I can see where people are very nervous to order from Pat McGrath, at least like specifically from their website. I was under the impression that this was also supposed to come to Sephora, and it hasn't been listed on Sephora yet, at least to my knowledge. It has been quite a few days since like I last looked it up, and I don't know. So I want this palette to like wow me, excite me, be something really cool. So let's go ahead and open it up. I will insert some B-roll film right here of the swatches of the palette. I'm gonna film that after I do my eye look, because I want this to be an honest like first impressions. And this is how the palette looks, and I think it's so like there's this design on the edges that kind of look, you know, like a box, which is really nice. Opening it up, it feels really posh, and the shades look really amazing. So I love that it's these pinks, these browns, and this like blue white kind of like iridescent shade. This really calls to me. I think though as well, I was under the impression that you could use this as like a eye and cheek kind of situation, but I think it's just an eyeshadow palette. But I mean, who's gonna stop you from putting it on your cheeks? You know, who? No one. I am using the At First Blush Super Shock from the Rosé All Day collection. And I mean, it kind of does look like this one right here with the B. Like, it's like a similar kind of tone. So, I don't know. If you can't get your hands on this palette, but you like that shade and maybe we're thinking about using it as a cheek item, ColourPop. I couldn't suggest the Super Shock blushes enough. Their shadows are also really good. So let's zoom in so we can see exactly what I'm doing and you can get a close-up and see exactly the things that I'm seeing. Now that we're zoomed in, what kind of look do I even want to do is the question. I know that I want to play with the shimmers. I don't know how intense of a look I want to create. I think I'm gonna go in with this like pink shade. Again, the one that matches my my blush, and I'm just gonna go in with a Sigma E25, and I'm just gonna kind of pop that in my crease. I've never used a Pat McGrath shadow before, so this formula is brand new to me. I didn't really watch too many other reviews on this palette, so I'm gonna just try and build a look that, I don't know, that maybe I would want to wear. So far, like, the shades are pretty, like, so far the shades are, like, it's easy to pack in and kind of brush out. Which I think is really nice. I think I'm just gonna kind of stamp this shade in my crease. Perfect. And then I think I want to take the other B shade, the more like pinkier tone, and I think I just want to soften the outer edge with it because it looks like it has more of like a metallic finish, but maybe this is a matte. I can't really describe exactly what it's doing, but I think it's just like a really nice blend. Because it's definitely softening out those lines and it looks really nice. I don't know what I want to do next. I know I want to use that blue shade, so I might as well just go in. I'm gonna take that iridescent shade. I'm not gonna say that it's hard panned, but you do have to like push fairly hard into the pan to get it, and it seems like it's kind of breaking up in the pan or like in the palette. I guess when I say breaking up, like there's fallout, but like I said, well, I guess you guys will see this video later this week. But I mean, that happens with most metallic shimmer shades because that's just the anatomy of any kind of glitter. This is very pretty. This is a very pretty icy blue. Oh wow. I really like that. It, I mean, I'm not really getting too much fallout. I mean, like I don't have any. Any of the glitter you see here is just my highlight. This is a really nice shade. And I love it with this pink. I think it's very complementary. So then this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go in with the bottom left-hand shade, which is more of like this brown. And I'm gonna pop it in my outer corner. But I also want to pop it on the upper lid in the outer corner. Actually, do I have a... a harder brush I can use. Perfect. I'm using more of a stiffer flat brush that I like to use more for this kind of liner effect. I'm just going to take it across the lid just to add some depth. Oop, I have a lash. And then I'm going to go back in with that deeper pink shade, and I'm going to use that to soften the lower lid and a little bit of that shadow on the upper lid. I think that's fairly cute. I do want to let me take the top left-hand shade and let me just apply it to my inner corner. I think this is more of a this is more of like a highlight shade. It is very pretty. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of that and just get that right in the arch of my eyebrow. Huh. I mean, can I do two different looks? Sure, why not? Okay, so now I'm gonna do something a little bit different. I'm going to let me take that top center shade, that lighter B shade, and I'm just gonna take that in the outer corner. And kind of build that up. And I'm going to take it in the inner corner as well. So now that I have a little bit of a base there, I'm going to go in with that lower B shade, and I'm just going to pat that in with that same blending brush. This is my first experience again with a Pat McGrath palette, but what I'm catching is that these shadows, they don't work in the same way that like a Play-Doh or a ColourPop shadow works, where you're getting pigmentation and you can do a little bit and build. Not that these shades aren't buildable, I just think that they're meant to be more of like a color pencil, if you will. Like you should just be able to work in more of the shades and kind of brush it in the same way that you would shade with a color pencil. Because when I use those kind of motions, I seem to get more payoff. Okay, and then I'm gonna go in with the bottom center shade because that's the only one I haven't really used. This one is a little bit darker. I am gonna get my shadows wet, but that's just because I do that with all of my kind of shimmer metallic shadows. That's just what I like to do. And I'm gonna apply that in the center, doing a little bit of like a halo eye. Kind of making sure that I work that in, and then going back in with the pinks and just kind of brushing it to that metallic shade. And then I'm going to take the bottom left shade again, and I'm just gonna line the bottom part of my lashes. I mean, they don't look like the same look. One is definitely blue with like a wing kind of effect, and one is definitely a halo eye. But let me apply my mascara and zoom back out, and I'll give you some of my thoughts and opinions. So this is the final look, and I'm pretty excited. Even though I did use two different techniques for either eye, I don't think it looks weird. I don't even know if you could really tell the difference. I mean, on this side I have a blue light and on this side I have a red light. So definitely the more pinky red tones are catching on this side and that blue is really catching on this side. But I think this is really pretty. For my first introduction to Pat McGrath, I think this was like a perfect color story for me. I do have some thoughts and opinions on the formula. So I think this palette would suffer how do I phrase this? I know that there is a lot of hype behind the brand and that it's very easy to create hype for a product just due to how online influencers talk about an item. Like take for example this Sky High mascara. I didn't pick this up purposely because so many people talked about it. I thought like, oh, this can't be very good. This is a really awesome mascara. It's one of my favorites. And it's the one I'm wearing right now. I have nothing but good things to say about it. But then you can take something like the Good Apple Foundation from KVD and how everyone really hyped it up and it was a complete disaster. And that being said, I feel like what ends up happening is that a lot of online content creators have a way that they do their makeup. So then when they find something that doesn't quite work within their formula or the way that they do their makeup, they say that it's not a good product. So I just want to put this out there. This is very different from a Kaleidos or ColourPop or Natasha Denona kind of eyeshadow formula. And those are my three favorite kind of eyeshadow formulas because you can go in with a light hand. They're buildable, they're blendable. This isn't as like user-friendly as like the, what's it called? The Blend Bunny Cosmetics palette that I used last week, where I feel like anyone of any kind of makeup skill set can go right in and just do some really awesome, cool stuff. I think, and I don't know, because I'm gonna be honest about my makeup skill. I don't think that I'm like the best at makeup. I think I know what works for me and I know what I like and I kind of can tell what is good and what isn't. And I don't know, I like just talking beauty with people online. It's fun. It's fun for me. And it keeps me from like ranting about animes online and being super sweaty. So that being said, I feel comfortable using this eyeshadow formula, but it is definitely different from the other formulas that I really love. Only because I don't think that these are buildable in the same way that I've been using the term buildable before. So when I use something like a Kaleidos palette and I want to build up a shade, it's because I'm going in with a light hand and I can keep building up that shade to get it as intense and as opaque as I really want it. I don't think these shades in particular get very opaque. I think it is what it is. When it's buildable, you can kind of get more of an intense color, but it's not going to be a bold, opaque, like bam right there. But it's not like you're not going to see any color payoff. Because like even looking right here, how I built that red shade, reddish pink shade right in my crease, it looks really pretty. But the way that I was doing it, you know, if I was using like a Kaleidos, I would be nervous because I'm like, oh my gosh, this is really bold. This is really bold. If you're familiar with art and you've used like Copic markers or watercolor or crayons, things like that, I think that this formula is very much like a color pencil. You have to go in with that same kind of technique where you just keep stroking over it lightly, you know, and you can get the shade to where you want it with a kind of opaqueness, but a color pencil will never be as opaque as a marker. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to have that same kind of finish to it, but I think that it's very pretty, and I'm excited to have something that's like a little bit different in my collection. I want to play with this palette, with my Love palette, with my Retro palette, with my Mini Beta palette, with my Sashimi City palette. Like this is very pretty, and I'm very happy with it. I'm a big fan of purples and pinks. I love a brown neutral. This pop of blue, I really love something that's more like sci-fi-ish, if you will. And I think that it's really nice. Do I think it's worth the $60? For me, absolutely, because it's a new experience for me, and you know, I didn't absolutely hate this, and I feel like this kind of pushes me to kind of master, like this is a bit of a learning curve for me, and it pushes me to try different things and different techniques with this formula. But I don't know. So if you're someone where like you are very brand loyal and you know what you like, I don't know if this would be the palette to go for. She has smaller palettes that aren't too expensive. Maybe go for something like that. I think this is a very hard color story to jump into if you are someone that loves neutrals. And even if you're someone that loves like bright, colorful looks, it's a pink look. So if you like pink eyeshadow, I don't see this being a problem. But if you're someone that loves greens and swampy and like blue looks, there's the one blue shadow. I don't know if it's worth the $60 just to buy it for the one shadow, you know what I mean? Otherwise, I think it's a really fun palette. I think that's gonna be my final cut right now for my first impression. Obviously with Valentine's Day and that kind of season coming upon us, because we are now midway through the month, I want to use this palette a lot more. I want to do more like Valentine's Day themey kind of stuff. So look for that on my channel because I have plenty romantic tones, if you will. But let me know in the comments down below, did you pick up anything from this collection? What do you love? What do you not love? Maybe you have some thoughts and opinions about the collection or the brand altogether. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions. I love when we share them back and forth, and I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. Bye.